I know. You see the word strategy and start to fall asleep. But just give me a chance. Hello everybody, I'm your teacher Bob Ross, although you're probably very confused by me saying that if you've never watched me before. Regardless, this is episode 2 of Team DM Player Teaches You About Pro Play, the series where I go and I try and learn as much about a topic regarding pro play, and I try and teach it back to you so that everybody who's confused by this screen can understand it a bit better. Today's subject, Anti-Strating. So what exactly is Anti-Strating? Well, according to the Counter-Strike subreddit, strat or anti-strat simply means strategy or anti-strategy. Example, Team A is preparing a strategy before each game, Team B is trying to predict what Team A is going to do in each game, and trying to come up with an anti-strategy to counter Team A's strategy. That was a lot of strategy right there. Let me give you a little bit of a palate cleanser.
The first time around.
Yeah.
And it really felt...
Last player standing.
Now, this is really simplified, probably because it comes from the Counter-Strike subreddit, and, well, Valorant, let's just say, can be a little bit different. So let's dive into what it means in Valorant. Okay, let's start with something simple. This is Loud, and Loud smoked a little bit of that good shit coming into this season. This was their comp, in their first game, on Ascent. Now, as a viewer, I absolutely loved this, but unfortunately for Loud, in their second game of the season, they played EG. And, well, EG has Potter, and Loud decided to run the same comp. Now, if you don't know who Potter is undeniably one of the GOATs when it comes to coaching. So, with the one demo she had beforehand, she had no problem identifying the weaknesses of this comp and anti-stratting it. Now, can you figure out what the weaknesses of this comp is? I'll give you a minute. Think about it. In a map like Ascent, what is this comp's biggest weakness? Well, if you said choke points, you would be correct. A little bit more specifically, how the fuck are you supposed to get through these tight-ass choke points? How? Tell me how. Well, you have no drone, you have no entry, other than Phoenix, which, let's be honest here, that doesn't really count. Unless he has like an ult or something. And even then, Cypher Trips basically counter his entire kit, and going back to the whole no drone thing, corners like these ones, they become really strong because there's nothing to flush you out of it. There's no drone, there's no recon, no info initiators, there's nothing. The best thing is probably going to be flashes, but you can just play anti, and you can see this happen in the very first round. I told you I was Bob Ross. You didn't believe me. Pistol round. Well, you see Jaw immediately abuse what I had just talked about in getting in a corner that you could normally, get spammed or, be cleared off of because you simply can't. So what happens here? Well, Sonic decides, I'm just going to walk up mid and I'm going to see what happens, right? He's like, what's the worst that can happen? So he walks through a Viper smoke, immediately gets picked off, and Jaw is like, all right, let me pop my dash. Boom. Gets traded. A little bit of a whiff, little bit whiffy there, but he gets traded. What do Loud have to do in reaction to this? Well, they have to push a site. They have to push B main. Unfortunately for Loud, you have no space maker. You have no entry. You have no movement ability. You cannot entry. So what happens? Death. Destruction. Demolishment. You're stuck. It's like playing ranked. It's like playing Ascent attack ranked. You have no entry. You feel like you can't get anywhere because you feel like the choke points are so against you. You're so tight. Normally, though, you battle that by having a movement ability, having an entry, but you simply don't. So with the corners, with the choke points, everything, you just can't go anywhere. But you know what else is strong in Ascent? Odin. It's common for a Sova to have an Odin. Get some scans, spam the walls are paper, the choke points are cramped, it's easy to get kills that way. The choke points are cramped, huh? I wonder what could make the Odin stronger against a comp who can't go through choke points. Wait a minute. What if there was 2 of them? Oh wait, no, wait. What have I done? Slim So yeah, it turns out when the choke points are as cramped as they are on Ascent, the walls are paper, you have no entry, you have no drone. Let's just say the Odin's pretty good. And I personally think EG should be criminally charged and kicked out of VCT for how much they abused this. Take these rounds for example. All right, we got the big round coming up, right? EG won pistol, EG won bonus, Loud won the first gun round, but now this is the first true test. As you can see, Loud barely won that gun round, so they're kind of a little bit low on weaponry, but that's really not going to matter because you know what? The Odin is too strong on this map, and the Odin is strong. Normally, the Odin is stronger when you don't have things to get away from it. So what happens? Loud thinks, oh, well, they're just going to have one Odin. So let's push mid. Let's get away from these tight choke points. Unfortunately, EG know this and set up beautifully. Flash, recon, spam. And they're like, okay, we've been kind of fucked by the Odin. Let's react B again. Let's react B. However, yeah, that's not gonna happen. Look at this little smug motherfucker. Look at this little smug face. He knows what he did. He knows what Potter did. He knows what he's doing right now. It's just impossible to go anywhere. Another nice touch about this whole setup is that there's a camera right here, so you can play off of information from that camera really well, because Loud are forced to kind of contact up everywhere and kind of pop when they're ready. So you having a camera there, it allows you to get tags, it allows you to get spams off those tags. It's just another form of information that you can easily exploit by having these Odins in these positions. This round again is a perfect example of what it is like to have two Odins on this map against this, right? The round opens off, like I said, instead of a camera this time, it's kind of like the jiggle. It's the information you get off of this Cypher player jiggling and giving your Sova the information. And what happens? You get spammed. As they're walking up, as they're getting ready to contact, that's not going to happen. This is another really strong position to play in this situation because it's a nice little pixel angle. You can spam through this wall. Like it's like having a wider angle that your enemies can't really do anything about. Like you'll see right here. He gets that kill. As you can see right here. Another thing that's really strong against this that I haven't talked about yet is the op. You have three people with weapons specifically designed to shut down choke points, to shut down contacts, to shut down pops when you don't have anything to counter that. You're just holding with an Odin. You can't really... I mean, you can beat that, but with the position you put yourself in, you can't really beat that. Alright, now I've shown you an anti-strat based purely off of a comp, but what about comps that everybody knows? You know, what about the default comp? What about the boring shit? What about the Caucasians of comps? Well, instead of the comp being anti-stratted, you anti-strat the tendencies, which is exactly what Sentinels did to NRG. And honestly, one of the greatest matches I've ever seen live. Now, similar to how EG has Potter, well, Sentinels have Kaplan. Kaplan is Sentinels' head coach. Kaplan also knows that NRG love to fight heavy on one site and leave the other one for retake. Leave the other one for later. That's future NRG's problem. So what does Kaplan do with this information? Well, let me show you. Sentinels know that NRG like to play this kind of 3-1, 4-1 setup. They like to have a site heavily held, a fighting site, as you might call it, and they have a site that they leave off for retake. Now, Sentinels know this. Sentinels also know that Jett is 90% of the time going to be on that fighting site. So Sentinels throughout this map have conditioned themselves to try and kind of poke and prod and try and find where that Jett is, and that will be the fighting site, and they'll go to the other one. Now, something important that Sentinels does here is, if you notice, they don't use that much util. They use an ult and they use a nade, but they save a lot of util. Why would they save a lot of util? Well, I'll show you. Spikes down. Tens still has his Omen Flash. He still does. Meaning that they've used little util to get on the site, but they'll use all the remaining ones that they have to shut down whatever retake is happening. It's an anti-retake setup. It's an anti-retake style of play. And you'll see it happen right here. Dizzy goes up, tags, reactively, Tyson uses his Omen Flash, and energy are forced to save. It's as simple as that. The very next round, and I mean the very next round, a similar thing happens. They use your ult to get the site that they know that Jet's not going to be fighting on. Marv is just, let's be honest, that boy was, he was probably a little bit, you know what I mean? But it's all good. You get the site, and you just have the util left to fight this retake. Good trades. And again, they have to save because they know that Ten still has his Omen Flash. Saucy is going to pick up his Dizzy, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. There's still flashes, there's still nades, there's still TP. Like, it's too much, and they know they just have to save. Last example here. Sentinels have gotten onto a site once again, gotten it into a post plant, and energy are yet again retaking. Notice here. Trip gets broken, dog gets cleared. Marved Omen flashes, and what immediately happens afterwards, it's Tenz's Omen Flash. It's just such a strong bit of util to the point where they can just now double up, they can fight. They have all the control. They have all the control. It's nearly impossible to retake this if you play it correctly. It's a perfect anti-retake setup. It's a perfect anti for a team who loves to retake. Now, anti-strating don't just exist in these two examples and these two circumstances. You can anti-set plays like what happened to Sentinels here.
And is this the TP into the smoke? Yes, it is. Their version of Vision Strikers. Oh, that's nice. And then I think you go Heaven there. Yeah, but then you're kind of going into a crossfire. Sentinels have shown this one before, and honestly, Gen G were very ready for it in terms of numbers. They knew this was a thing.
Certain tendencies, pieces of util, it goes pretty far for what you can actually anti-strat. It's just how far you're willing to go. So I ask this again, just like I did in my last episode, like my last lesson. Can you take what you've learned here and apply it to your own games? I'll let you think about it for a moment. No pop quiz this time. You just have to answer this one question. And this time, I think you actually can. Now, stick with me here because it won't be exactly the same as you just saw me explain, especially considering you have never played against these motherfuckers in your life, and let's be honest, you probably don't have a team around you either. But what you can do is the concept of anti-stratting on the fly, or more simply put, adapting to what your enemy is doing. Now, you can argue these are two completely different things, and you could probably be right, but I'm trying to give you something that is the closest you'll get to anti-stratting within your ranked game. For example, on Bind, if your opponent thinks he's Oxy, thinks he's Tens, and keeps swinging showers alone, get yourself a little buddy and give him a nice little surprise. Or if you notice Sova is liking a dart a bit too much, just step aside, chill for a second, pretend you're not even there. Small things like this can give you so much of an edge, especially in the cesspit that is ranked. I miss my wife, Tails. I miss her a lot. I'll be back.